ManeHustle Media Podcasts are recorded on the ancestral lands of the Chumash, Tongva, Karankawa, and Hohokam people, and I wish to pay my respects to the people of those nations, both past and present. Hey y'all, welcome to Queer and Far Podcast, a travel podcast from a couple of queer femmes. We are providing tips and resources to travel safely while Black, brown, queer, disabled, or from any marginalized group and intersection in between. I am one of your co-hosts, your Sir Auntie, Sharmane Fury, aka daBlasianBlerd, and
I am a noob.
And
I'm Shae. I am a noob.
I am
still and always and forever. Hello, internets. How are we?
Hello, internets. I just got back from a big trip, and we are going to talk about that trip.
I'm so freaking jazzed. I've been waiting for this.
Listen, this one's the best one so far. I walked away from this like both energized and excited about nerd shit and stuff that I want to do with my other podcast, Blerd Comics, and just life in general as a nerd. I walked away excited about some new podcasting shit because I went to 2 different conferences while I was there, a New York Comic Con and PodFest. I don't know why I'm sitting at my desk and I have my hands on my hips right now, like I'm in Wonder Woman pose.
I'll put my hands up on my hips.
I'm sitting down. Like, why am I doing this? This is weird.
My boobies almost passed out. Okay, we're okay.
I
almost had a Janet moment.
Out of body.
A Janet moment.
So yes, I had a blast. This one was the best trip I've taken so far. I'm very excited. I'm about to enter my villain era. So let's go.
Let's get into it. I'm ready. I'm super excited. Okay, so where did we go?
We went to New York Comic Con, New York City, New York.
Okay.
We went to New York Comic Con. Let me make sure that this opens in the right direction. Oh, it's blurry. Villain era. My flag says villain era.
Temporarily, can you temporarily turn off your
yes,
whatever?
Or I'm trying to hide the fact that my bed's not made behind me.
We look, all of the internets knows that their bed isn't made either.
That's true.
Don't lie, internets. Don't lie. We all know.
Villain era.
I love it, and it's purple.
This is a combination of things. It's a Comic Con fan. It says villain era, and it is purple.
And then, yeah, there you go. That's it. That's it. A little aeration. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's hot outside. I live in Houston. It's very, very hot. It's very, very hot.
And it's pouring rain in Phoenix, Arizona right now.
But
it's so humid.
God.
Look at my hair. It went, no, we don't care what you want to do today. This is what we're doing. Yeah, I didn't actually. I tried to straighten my hair a little bit before I had to go outside earlier today, but I was too sweaty. It was too hot, and it is what it is. I didn't have time to do it before we jumped on to record. But I'm excited to be able to share my experience at New York Comic Con and PodFest with y'all today. Woo-hoo. I had a blast. I'm excited. Okay, so where should we start? No, where do we start before Comic Con? Or
what happened before Comic Con? I was planning my cosplay, and Did I go anywhere before? Oh. Did we talk about this? I'm not sure I don't think we've talked about this on the show yet. I went to go get my global entry.
Yes.
I went to San Antonio.
Okay.
Because when I originally applied for global entry, there were no appointments in Houston. The quickest, I'll say this first. I filled out the little form for global entry. I paid my little $100 and some. And then in just a couple of days, it hit me back. It said it could be like weeks, but in a couple of days, it was like, you can go to Laredo, Texas or McAllen, Texas tomorrow to have an appointment. That's like a 9-hour drive for me. Right. I was like, So I started to refresh the screen and look for other cities. In Houston, there's nothing in Houston for like a year. Like you can't even find it. So then I saw that San Antonio had an appointment within 2 weeks of that date. So I was like, I'll go ahead and do San Antonio. That's a 3-hour drive for me. So I just want to make sure there's no specific information on this, but I did get my little card.
I don't want to show my passport came, and it is the ugliest picture.
My picture is horrible.
They made me like horrible. Not like I look like a little
because they take any version of your own face that you think looks fine. Like I thought I looked perfectly fine when I was taking that photo. I had just gotten my hair done, my makeup was on. I don't really wear makeup very often, and then I still look like I bombed something, and this was my mugshot photo. I don't know why, because they make you take your glasses off. They make you straighten in such a weird way that your neck comes forward, and you can't smile. Yeah. And I have a beautiful smile.
I have a beautiful smile too.
So yeah, so I ended up my passport came. I applied for my renewal back in June or something like that. I got it in August.
You have to apply for it first, and then once you have the application in, then you have to make an appointment.
Yes. So you have to physically have your passport before you can apply for it. You apply for it, and then you have to book the appointment. So it gives you like a temporary approval, but I don't know if you can actually use it because you don't have a known traveler number yet. Then you book your appointment. So I drove up to San Antonio a couple of weekends ago. And my appointment was on a Sunday. It's literally a 5-minute appointment. Oh my God. It took longer because they actually didn't let me into the room until 10 minutes later. I think they were coming back for lunch because they were closed from 2 to 3. And then my appointment was supposed to be at 3. So I didn't even get in there until 3:10. And then I was out of there by 3:17. So I drove all the way.
Just for 5 minutes. Well, whatever. Maybe
that's why I'm glad I didn't do Laredo. I mean, I've never been to Laredo, and it would have been an adventure, but I'm like, I don't want to go 9 hours away for a 5-minute appointment.
For those of us on the internets that might be confused or don't know, is global entry the same thing as TSA pre-check?
So you get TSA pre-check with global entry. Okay. So I don't know, honestly, I don't know why you would apply to TSA pre-check with and not global entry unless you just didn't have a passport, because you get 2 for the price of 1. So even though I didn't have my physical card yet, I had the number. Okay. And it's already attached to your passport. So I just traveled to New York with my passport. Okay. So I was able to use TSA pre-check. And so I gave them my passport. They scan my passport, and it'll tell you that you're approved for TSA.
And you don't have to go through all the security. You just go.
No. So, well, I did get randomly selected because racism, or at least I'm assuming.
I mean,
even
tis the American way.
Even Tree said, like, I texted Tree and I was like, I got randomly selected, and he's like, racist. So the thing is that I got to go through a metal detector instead of the which direction was it? Yes. Okay. First one, I'm trying to think which order this happened in. Okay, so the first one I just got to go through the metal detector. I'm pretty sure that was the case. And I didn't have to take my belt off. I didn't have to take my shoes off. I didn't have to take my laptop out of my bag. This was very necessary on this trip in particular because I have this gigantic garment bag duffel. It converts. So I have that because of my cosplay. I need a garment bag for my cosplay, but I don't want to carry or check in too many bags. So I got this huge ass duffel that lets me do the garment bag stuff for my cosplay. And then all my stuff, the other stuff I wore, I put into the duffel bag. This thing is heavy as shit. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to carry. So I bought a little pulley cart to have it, and I strap it with like bungee cords. Uh-huh. So when I checked that, I was on Southwest, so I was able to check my bag for free. So I took the bungee cord thing off because it would be loose. It wouldn't have let me travel with. So I checked the duffel, but then I had the fucking folded cart that I had to put in my backpack. So I had to leave enough room in my backpack to fold the folded card up and put it in my backpack, which would make getting my laptop out of there very difficult. So glad to have TSA pre-check this time around, because it's the first time I was using both the rolly bag or the rolly cart, the duffel bag, and TSA. So I didn't have to take my computer out. I just put my bag on the scanner. I walked through the thing. I think they patted me because I had a weird pants I travel in have zippers at the bottom, and I always get tagged on that. So they just, patted it down, and then they let me go. So it was great. It made me very comfortable, very happy. I didn't have to take nothing off. On my way back though, that's when I got randomly selected, and I had to go through the image scanner, and I don't love doing that. Mm-hmm. And it really sucks because the choice is have somebody fill you up or do the scanner. Right. I don't like to be touched. And I don't want my, bits on a digital screen somewhere. So, and I've seen what those images look like. You can see bits, you can see body folds, you can see, it's very visible, so I just don't like the idea of people seeing me when I don't grant them permission. So TSA pre-check went very smooth. So global entry, is really more for your international travel. Obviously, if you're coming in from customs, you have a lot less work to do when you're coming through customs. Yeah. So now when I travel, or before my global entry, because I haven't traveled with it yet, I always get asked extra questions because I'm brown. It's not just like, where were you and why were you, was it pleasure or business? It's literally like I get asked where I was born. I get asked what hospital I was born in. I get asked very detailed questions because they're trying to trip you up to see if you actually have answers about your origin, because they're trying to prove, even though I got a blue passport, they're trying to prove if I'm actually an American. So I struggle to get back into the country every time, which is why I decided to pay for global entry, because I want to see if that changes. I was just having a conversation with a fellow Black woman the other day about those questions. And I mentioned about how those questions are racist. And they were like, wait a second. Is it not the way they only ask us those questions? And I was like, no. Yeah, white people don't get those questions.
I have traveled internationally extensively in my youth and a little bit in my adultness. Sometimes I'm an adult. Most of the time I'm not. But I have never been asked that question.
So
I have never been asked that question.
When I traveled with my British cousin, who is a white man, he went through customs coming into America way faster than I went through customs being an American. And when I got through, he was like, what took so long, mate? And I was like, I'm brown. And he's like, I don't understand what that means. And I was like, they don't believe I'm an American. And he goes, I'm not an American. And I was like, I understand this. I was like, this is a racist place. And you being a white British person is safer in their eyes than me being a brown American. So that's why I've gotten global entry. So I haven't used it yet. Obviously, I'm doing that in preparation of us moving abroad and having to come back every so often to like check in with America, I guess, between visas and shit like that. But you get the TSA pre-check along with it. And so let me just say that $100 or whatever it is, $130, best $100 I ever spent.
Okay.
Because I enjoy not being made to feel like a criminal when I'm just trying to go on vacation.
Right.
Yeah. So that was fun. But then, yeah. So that's what led me to. So I did that. That was 2 weeks ago that I did 2 weeks before my trip that I did was it a whole 2 weeks? Yes. It was like, because they said you'll receive your card in 10 days or 11 days. I was leaving in 10 days. So I was like, oh, I hope I get this card before I go. But it turns out the card part wasn't necessary because I could just use my passport. Yeah. That being said, if I don't want to travel, like if I'm traveling domestically and I don't want to bring my passport with me, this is an extra government ID now that I have.
Okay.
Because you have all your numbers and shit on the back, and it's a picture ID. So now you have this whole extra.
Another. I wonder, can I use it to vote? Probably not.
Probably. Yeah, it's like, here's my driver's license, here's my global entry, here's my passport.
But yeah. Still can't vote.
Still can't vote. Still can't be a human person. So yes.
Anyway,
that was great.
Okay, so then that went over fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think, didn't you stay at a hotel overnight?
I stayed at the same hotel the entire time I was in New York.
Okay.
The difference is when I was in Dragon Con Atlanta, I stayed in a hotel one night and I stayed in an Airbnb the rest of the time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So now that we're going to New York, what do you want to talk about first? What do you want to talk about?
I guess I could just do it kind of in order. First of all, I haven't flown into LaGuardia since 2003. LaGuardia has changed. It is not. Let me see. I think I might have some photos of it. It is not the rat hole fucking airport that it was.
Nope.
When I was. LaGuardia is fucking fancy now. I did not know. I did not know that it had gotten fancy. So yeah, that was fun. It's quite fancy now. There's decent food everywhere and stuff like that. So yeah, like it's nice. It's nice now. So what I did do on this trip was because I do I'm ending this, but I have been working as a travel agent partially. I get discounts for like car services and stuff like that. Not huge discounts, but discounts nonetheless. And in New York, I figured I didn't want to have to maneuver my bags and all that kind of shit with Subway. So I ended up getting a car service to take me to and from the airport. Okay. So I use this service called Carmel Limo, and it's just a regular ass car though. And all I had to do was like the day before put in my flight information, and then there was just somebody there. I call as soon as I get my bags, and I'm just like, I'm ready. And then within 10 to 15 minutes, someone came and picked me up and took me to my hotel. I was staying in Midtown. Nice. Actually, I think I do have an easy access to the video of like the drive to the city. I think I can show that. Oh, let me show it.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. It's not full screen. I should probably full screen it.
Oh, wow. It's gigantic.
So that's just me in somebody's car, like, driving silently.
New York. Did you still have the smell of New Jersey?
Well, I will say I forgot. I instantly felt this. Like the second I walked outside in New York, I forgot how smoky New York and New Jersey is, because I'm from California and we have had no smoking laws since I was at least a child. Like I think it happened. I remember it happening when I was like a young teenager, like 12, 13 or something like that. So I forget how smoky New York is. And it's been like 7 years since the last time I went there. I walked outside and instantly I was just like that. I got hit with that cigarette smoke and a smell. And I was like, grow up, New York, smoke weed. What are you doing? Why are you smoking cigarettes still? Like, this is ridiculous.
Why are you giving them money?
Yeah. It's like so much. It's so stupid. So I took the little drive from I think it was probably about 25 minutes or so from LaGuardia to Midtown, and which was really the closest airport to where I was staying. And I stayed in a Spring Hill Suites by Marriott in Midtown. Okay. Let me say. This is like, how I always say I like to stay at Best Westerns because I tricked the system and I got diamond status through my job, and I've just been able to maintain it all this time. And I like to go to Best Westerns because there's usually microwaves and refrigerators and a breakfast. This is Marriott's line of hotels that is probably comparable to a Best Western because it has a microwave, it has a refrigerator, it has a continental breakfast, and but it's still very nice. It's a very nice spot. I got there. They only had one room left. And I got there at like 11 in the morning. And I called ahead of time. I was like, please, can I check in early? Because I'm so tired. Because I left. I got to the airport at 3 a.m. Central Time. No. And I landed in New York at like 10:50 Eastern Time. So I was fucking tired. And I was like, please let me check in early. They're like, we have one room left. So if you're here within the next 15 minutes, you can have that room. I was like, bet, I'm on my way. I'm going to take that room. So when I got there, they were like, we're sorry. We only have an ADA compliant room. So it's going to be a little bit different than the room you probably were expecting, but it's available now. It's on the 8th floor. You have a little bit of a view because you have a window facing the front of the place and stuff like that. And I was like, I'll take it. Thank you. But it had me thinking because while I think I'm going to air this episode ahead of the episode we recorded last time, the guest that we had on that one, Quadzilla, she said, I was saying that I want to be evaluating the ADA rooms for the sake of our referral and our resources guide. I go, but I feel guilty as a person who doesn't have mobility disabilities, taking up those types of spaces. And she said, we kind of need you to do it ahead of time because we might get there and it's too late.
It's too late.
So why this is one person granting me that kind of permission. The points Quadzilla was making was very important, was very, made sense, right?
Yeah.
She may have gotten there or you may have gotten there if you're further along in your situation, and it might not have worked out for you. And so it really was a good idea for me to check it out first. So it was kind of like accidentally lucky that I ended up in this room almost right after Quadzilla. And she explained that to me and I was like, okay, good point. Because part of me doing this travel ahead of you and I traveling together is to kind of start, I don't have as many restrictions physically. So this will be an opportunity for me to be like, okay, this is a safe space. Let me tell you, I've decided that's my spot. When I go back to New York, I'm definitely going to go back to that place when I go back into New York.
It looked nice.
It was very nice. In terms of location, being in Midtown is good for me because you're not too far away from Times Square. If you want to do the tourist shit, I wasn't too far away from Javits Center. It was like a 20-minute subway ride to get to Javits Center for Comic-Con. but if I wanted to go uptown or downtown, I'm halfway in the middle. Like I was literally halfway in the middle of the city. So it was like perfect location. And the hotel was great. And the customer service was really great. Like the staff was really great. It was a really good spot. So I had a room on the 8th floor, front facing. So I had one of the few windowed rooms.
Do you have video?
Yes, I do have it. I don't have it handy because
we just can't. Okay.
Yeah, I should.
So maybe as we're talking about this, I don't know. You do your editing magic.
I'll figure some out. Okay. But yeah, so yeah, I sent it to you. I like texted it to you while I was walking around of the room. It was she did mention it was one of the few windowed rooms, and so I did have a front facing so I could see the street and things like that. It's not like it was a fantastic New York view, but it was nice to have a big window. And I could open the window. You know, they have those, I think they're called suicide windows, where you can open them, but you can't open them deep enough to get out, but it's just enough to get outside air, which I did use a couple of times. So it was just a really nice spot. It had a low platform bed, so the bed wasn't super high. And I didn't even realize that actually until Quadzilla said something about it too. I was like, oh yeah, hotel beds are really high. Even I like leap into them sometimes because I'm 5'4". I'm not a tall person. So sometimes I am trying to get in the bed's weird, but this was a low platform bed. It had a barn door to the bathroom, slider door. So you didn't have to open in or out. You didn't have to maneuver that way. And then it had the open shower, the walk-in shower. And the bathroom itself was a wet room, so that if the water came out of the shower, it drained inside the bathroom as well.
Very cool. Did you see bars? I think there were bars.
There were bars on the toilet and the bathroom stall, and the shower stall. It also had a seat in the shower stall.
Nice
as well.
I think if it went down or no, it had a.
It was just there. Oh, well, you know what? I didn't actually even check and see if it flipped up. It probably. It probably flipped up, but it's not mindful. I didn't even think about that, actually. I was just like, oh, that's where the chair sits. It sits there. The only thing I would say that was noticeable to me in making my attempt to be very observant was that it did have one of those showers that you could take off the thing, the detachable cord type. But that part was so high up that I imagine if you are in a wheelchair or you're sitting on that thing, you might not have been able to pull it up. But you can shift the cord so that you would have the water pouring on you if you were on the seat. But if you are like me and you like to get into your crevices.
Yeah. You mean for those who clean below their knees?
Yeah. For people who clean below your knees. For people who do things other than just letting water run down your body. Yeah. I like to take the thing off and I like to get into my bits. Get into the
bit,
lift up the breasts, all that kind of stuff. So, just thinking about and I even kind of did, I put a towel down on the seat because I didn't want to sit my bare naked ass on the seat. So I put a towel down on the seat, even though it made the towel wet. I sat on the towel and then I tried to reach and stuff like that. And, for me, I have more mobility, so I was able to do it. But I feel like if you really are restricted, or if you're dealing with full or semi paralysis in your leg area, I wouldn't have had that
difficulty, so maybe it should have been one that was like
a little bit lower
down,
or
lower.
Like a double one, because I've seen that even at a Best Western where there's a double one and you could pull the lower one down
on off. Yeah, that's what, and that might be something we could give them feedback on.
Yeah, so I think that's something that I will do in a review to them, because other than that, again, and this is my observation as a person who doesn't need the space but is trying to actively pay attention to see if that space is good for people. I have no complaints in that respect. It was a really good room and a really good space. And honestly, I've never seen the kind of walk-in shower that was just a no ridge. I've seen the walk-in showers, because remember when I was in Anaheim, it did have a walk-in shower, but it had a lip. So you would still have to transfer from the floor of the bathroom into the floor of the shower because there was a lip there.
Oh, right.
And this one didn't have that lip. And I was like, even seeing it like that, I was like, even for me, I would like to have a shower like that because I fall down. I trip all the time.
All the time.
You know what I'm saying?
I like to slip and slide. That's my
You know what I'm
favorite
saying?
thing
So I was like even I would design a place that had a shower like that going forward. So it was a nice little chance to see a shower like that in action. So yeah, the room was great. It did have a microwave. It had a refrigerator. So I was able to keep food, like, because I eat frequently, but not a lot in one sitting. And so I was able to order food and just, reheat it over the time and stuff like that, which was what I like to do. That's why I like rooms with microwaves. And when you stay in a place for 5 days, you don't want to eat out every single night, or at least I'm on a budget. So the dinner that I got for my first day there was my dinner my second day. And then after that, I got another meal, and, I was able to spread it out that way. So yes, that was very good. Wednesday was the day that I flew in. I got in there. I did rest. I didn't really sleep like I wanted to. I did rest. And then I went to my first Broadway show ever.
I am so excited to hear about that.
Thank you for this too, because I was talking about this before I went, and you were like, yes, do this, please, and sent me money for it. So I got to go see the piano lesson on Broadway, which was in previews actually on Broadway, with Samuel L. Jackson, my dad. LaTanya Richardson, my stepmom, is the director. She wasn't in the play, but she directed it. John David Washington, my future second husband when I become a polyandrous. Danielle Brooks, and actually Ray Fisher was in it as well. He's not one of the named 3 people, but he was Cyborg in the recent. He played Cyborg.
Oh, okay.
He was really good too. I was glad to see him, and it's funny because he's a friend of a friend, so it's one of those things like I don't know him, but I know more about him because he's a friend of a friend and stuff like that. So it was just like it was one of those things where I saw him and I was like, hey Ray. Oh wait, I don't know Ray. Yeah. Plus he's like in the picture with one of my friends. Like he's in pictures on Instagram with one of my friends a bunch and stuff like that too. So you like feel like you get used to someone's face and like you know them, but you don't know them. But everybody did a really good job. It was a really, really beautiful play. I had decent seats. I was in the orchestra down low, so I could see the whole set, the whole stage. And I was basically like 30 to 40 feet away from my dad for the first time in my life. For the audience who doesn't know me, I'm not Samuel L. Jackson's child. I tell people I'm Samuel L. Jackson's child. You can't prove he's not my father. But don't go up to him and be like, you got a secret Miss daughter. No, he doesn't have to. I used to work with his daughter on a TV show, but I always avoided getting to know her better because I didn't want to be the person that became friends with her, or that people thought I was becoming friends with her because I was obsessed with her father. I'm just obsessed with Samuel L. Jackson. That's it.
And not in that way. Like you really like, that's my dad.
Yeah. Like I've been saying he was my dad since I was like 15. I have been obsessed with him my whole life. I really, really have loved him forever, especially like reading about how he went through his childhood stutter, which is why he says motherfucker all the time. If he felt the stutter come on, he would say motherfucker, and it'd help get him out of the stutter. Yeah. Which I think is like the cutest excuse to having a foul mouth ever. It's one of my favorite things. So yeah, I got a chance to finally see him in person. Unfortunately, he didn't come through the stage door like John David and Danielle did. Danielle actually like took time and like said thank you. Like she didn't touch anybody or take pictures, but she was just like, thank you for liking the show, thank you. A white woman did white woman when I was there, but other than that, it was a whole good experience until we were all waiting out at the side door for the actors to come out after the show. These 2 white women kept pushing in, and they stepped on my foot. They stepped on me, and there was a black woman next to them who would look at me like she didn't notice that I was pushing her. She thought I was just taking it. So she was looking at me like, why are you taking it? And then finally the white woman tips, because what I was doing was I had my hand, like she kept pushing into me. So I had my hand like this, and I kept slowly moving my hand forward until and she didn't realize what was happening, but she just kept adjusting. And then finally I had gotten my hand so much closer, she finally tipped, and then she looked back, and I'm like, you are all over me. Because I waited for her to turn and make eye contact with me. And she goes, I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to see. I'm like, I'm trying to see also. The problem is that you just cut in front of me and then stepped all over me and didn't apologize. Right?
Yeah. Rude.
And And the girl next to them too was like, yeah, you're just all over her. Like, you cut in front of her, like, leave her. She's like, I'm sorry. So then she ends up asking, who was that first gentleman who walked through? And that pissed me off because I know what she's saying is I'm a white woman who doesn't know which Black people I just saw. And I said, the star of the show. The Black girl next to me started to say the name, and I look at her and I'm like, the star of the show. That's who that was. And she goes, yeah, but who was it? And I said, it's weird that you don't know. Because I'm feeling like if we're all here, the name is all over the building. The name is all over the program. Why don't you know who you've seen is what I'm thinking. And she goes, well, I didn't see the show. And I said, that's even worse. I'm like, we paid to see this show. You cut in front of me to see an actor. You don't even know who he is. Why are you here taking up space? And she just looks at me like, and so at that point, the Black girl realizes I got this. So she just like, took like she just like, you know, moved and left. But I was like, I said, not only did you step all over me and shit, you were taking up space of people like us who paid to see these people who we wanted to see. And she goes, I still don't know who the actor was. And I was like, you're a problem.
Why
does
that
away.
have to fucking
because she wasn't even listening at that point. She's not even realizing
of
she was taking
not.
up white woman's space. And at the end of the day, she still cared more about what she didn't know, what she wanted to know,
she was
than what I had
herself.
to say.
Yeah, yes. She was centering herself rather than listening and doing better.
Yeah. So I walked off in a huff, and because that was the end of it anyway.
And she went off to go get a pumpkin latte,
probably
pumpkin spice latte with her Uggs, and
or step on some other brown person's shoes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that was my first night. I got myself back on the subway to my hotel. It took me 2 days to finally go on the correct side of the street for my subway every time. Like, I would start to go down the wrong way and then go back up the stairs and go back down to the other side because you got to know, am I going uptown or downtown? Took me 2 days until I finally started going on this correct side of the street for the subway every time. But that was my first night there. It was a really good night. And then what New York Comic Con does is they actually mail you your badges before you get there. So you don't have to go through will call if you ordered it in advance. So I already had my badge. I didn't have to do shit but show up, which was great. Because that means I got right in Thursday morning, which was the first day of the con. And besides like showing my bag and stuff like that, I just walked right in. Okay. Having just come from Dragon Con, which from what I hear is I've heard that it's the largest con in the United States.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that it's not because it's spread out over so many hotels and venues. It's 5 or 6 hotels and venues and then multiple floors. So it is probably the case that it is the largest one, but it's really hard and it feels big when you're there. But the second you walk into the hall for New York Comic Con, you feel how big New York Comic Con is. This is me standing. I know it's far away, but this is me standing in the middle. Behind my face is all the way to the wall in one direction. And it's very far away. And then if I flip around, it's very far away.
Far away. So you were like, so this is massive.
It's pretty massive. It's a huge.
I'm sorry. Where is the venue again?
This is at the Javits Center in New York. So it's off like the river and everything like that. And it is massive.
I'm looking at good golly.
It's a huge place. Yeah. So like this is you can't really see how big the place is from this image. There's just like
it literally is between like
it's blocks. It's multiple New York blocks. Yeah. It's huge. And you feel how small you are like immediately. There's just so much. Well, I'll show you like when you're outside in the lobby area. Here's another little picture. So this is like the outside lobby before you walk into the exhibit hall.
Look at that cosplay. I am never going to be that good.
Nutty? Like I am like never. Some of them are crazy.
Oh,
You just gotta do a different thing. But like what's behind, so where you see Mayfair witches and stuff up at the top, these big huge banners, that's upstairs. And that's when you first walk in, you see these huge TV show and film banners that are clearly, like, given how big it looks in this image and how far away it is,
it's
they're
I can clearly
massive.
read that.
Yeah, you can clearly read it. That stairwell that's kind of like right back where the blue sign, the top of the blue sign is right there.
Okay.
That's a divided stairwell that on one side says heroes and on the other side says villains. And you go, it's like villains this way, heroes this way. It's really cool. And then over here under where it says Artist Alley, that big poster, that you go down into where Artist Alley is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But where I just showed the picture prior, that was the exhibit hall. That's on the upper level. That's just all the vendors. So down below is all the artists and up above is all the vendors. And then in the opposite direction from where, like, if you were to keep walking, like if you're the fox and you're walking towards me taking the photo, if you keep walking that direction, it's another mile and you get to the panel hall. So it's all in one big building, but it's so much walking. You're so far away from everything. It's pretty wild. And it's just a lot of people. So my first day, I got to see I went to a panel of a cosplayer that I follow named Bishop Cosplay, and she was on his panel. She was dressed as Miss Fizzle.
I know her.
Mrs. Fizzle. Well, I follow her and I share her, so maybe you've seen her, but she is oh shoot. What is her cosplay name? I should have had this popped in my head, but I forgot. I got to see a ton of cosplayers that I follow, so it was a lot of fun.
So while you're looking things up, so was the con like vaccinated? I don't know how is New York.
So
have rules?
New York did require masks everywhere, but they required in the way of like as you're walking in, people are telling you put on your mask. Here's a mask, da da da. But like as soon as people walked away from those people, masks were coming off. So it was as reinforced as it possibly could be. So the person in this picture is Lysette Lewis. She goes by Sailor Ecstasy Cosplay. Oh, okay. And she does like Rainbow Bright. She does like a lot of stuff from like our era.
Yeah. I think I saw her on her Rainbow Bright. It made me so freaking happy.
Yeah. So she did Miss Fizzle the day I saw her. She did Rainbow Bright. She did what else did she do? She did a character from Steven Universe. She did a Mario. She did Bowser and stuff like that. Like she was pretty. She was a pretty cool cosplayer. But that was that one. Let's see. And then I saw. Oh, this is my second day, so I'm jumping the gun. But this is Moon. I was in cosplay. This is a hybrid Batman Joker, which you remember I was telling you how I kind of want to do this too. So that's why I took a picture with her. But let's see. Let's go back to the first day. So the first day, this is all spoiler. Oh, here's a picture of me. This is a picture of where I was sitting when I was at the piano lesson.
Oh, you had a good.
Really good fucking seats because
that's good. You could have touched. You could have touched your dad.
I was like what 10 rows back or 15 rows back or something like that. It was really really good seats. But so this is when I first walk into the exhibit hall. Before you get into the exhibit hall, you see the Funko thing. Which was you stayed in a line all the way around. I never got in it because the line was way too long to get exclusive Funkos, but that was right as you enter the building. Just another this was a steampunk Batman cosplayer that walked past that I barely snapped before.
I have to hand it to you people. That doesn't sound right, but you cosplay people. Oh. I loved the Garbage Pail Kids.
Garbage Pail Kids was one of the themes that they had going on, and so they were walking this guy around. So I ran in front of him just so I could get a picture of him. Because if you're born in the late 70s, early 80s, you were all about that Garbage Pail Kid life.
You know what the thing is? Like, it's considered one of the worst movies of all time, but I remember loving that movie when I was a child. I loved that movie. So anyway, okay.
This is when I went down into Artist Alley. This is Stephanie Williams. She is the current writer of Nubia, Queen of the Amazons for DC. That right there below at the bottom is the Living Heroes, which I'm sending you a copy of this. This is the book I give to people all the time because it's one of my favorite things. It's like certain heroes from Marvel, if they were living single, if they were the actresses in Living Single, like if they were the characters in Living Single. So it's Monica Rambeau, Storm, Riri Williams, and She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, all living together. So that's this. But I know Stephanie. I've known her online and through interviews for my comic book shop back when I owned Gulf Coast Cosmos, and she's going to be on Blerd Comics coming up soon as well. So we've known each other. We've been chit chatting for a while, and this was the first time we were going to be in the same city. So I went down to go see her. I did get a copy, the hard copy of Nubia and the Amazons, for which she signed for me. Because obviously I have the soft copies.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I got to see her for the first time.
Okay, keep it going.
Keep it
Where
going.
Why can't I see any cute pictures of you? The internet wants to see you? No, okay.
I'm trying to get them in order of the days that I was there. I think
what is this purple one?
This one, I think. This is when I was there at the theater. So that was first night there. This guy. So he was a Galactus, and that's a Doom.
Yeah.
Or she was a Galactus, and that's a Doom.
That's a Doom.
This is like outside. So you've already come in through the entrance, and you can come back outside in this area that's like walled off.
Like for smokers.
This is where like the smokers or the food, like the outdoor food bins and stuff like that. They're out here. That's where they are. This is Bishop cosplay. So I saw him at Dragon Con, but I didn't talk to him, but I follow him. But I commented on something he did where he was posing next to a person who is dressed up. So he dresses up as Bishop from the X-Men normally. Yep. And he was dressed up as Bishop from X-Men when I was at Dragon Con. But he was kneeling at the foot of a person dressed up as Holy Bishop, as in Bishop from the X-Men, but Pope style. And so someone tagged me in that photo, and my friend tagged me in that photo, and I said, I missed the Holy Bishop, but I saw the regular Bishop. This is who I was referring to as regular Bishop. And I just meant like regular Bishop outfit. But he jumps in and he was like, I know you're not calling me regular Bishop. I'm just regular. I wasn't impressive enough. So we're like going back and forth in the thing. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. And he's cracking up and stuff. So when I found out that he was going to be at New York Comic Con, I'm like, I'm going to go see his panel. So after his panel was over, I walked up to him and I was like, I called you regular Bishop on the internet, and he just hugged me so big, and he was like, we're going to be friends. So he's like, give me your phone. He takes my phone. He goes to my Facebook app, and he adds me as my friend.
Awesome.
He's like, we're going to be real life friends now. You made me laugh when I was at work one day. So we hugged up. We took this picture or whatever.
And that's Star Trek circa, I want to say Star Trek 4.
I'm not sure which Star Trek it was, but that's what the cosplay he was wearing that day. So his panel was him, his wife, and Lizette Lewis. I have a picture of the panel somewhere here. They, nothing went in order, so it's just like it is what it is. I will just have to search for it. You see my pedometer. Steps and stuff like that. Because I was like, how many steps did I do today?
You saw, and you got to meet Ebony Warrior too. Now,
Ebony Warrior, I've met in person at Dragon Con. He wasn't at New York Comic Con, but we've known each other for years. We just never met in person.
You actually officially met. Okay.
Yeah, we officially met at Dragon Con.
And if you guys aren't following Ebony Warrior or any of the other people mentioned,
I'll do a list. I'll tag in all the people that we show. So this is my note from Stephanie Williams on my hardcover that I bought. I am an Amazon, which for someone with a short man's complex, I really appreciate being called an Amazon.
You are short but mighty.
I have a full ass.
Don't go buy.
Well, that's the fourth day. I'm building. I'm building.
You're building up to my excitement. Okay.
I'm building up to. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you, so you could see kind of like the hall, the entry hall.
So they build this. No, that comes standard.
They just added. They just put all this stuff up. So when you walk in,
what do they normally use this for? Is it normally just for conventions?
It's the conventions. It's a convention center. Yeah.
Wow, they must be booked all the time.
It's pretty massive. And honestly, so I've been to. I'm just gonna say, it's gonna sound like braggy, but I'm not bragging. I've been to many a Comic-Con. I've been to San Diego a couple of times. I've been to LA a couple of times. I've been to WonderCon. I've been to San Francisco. I've been to Boston. I've been to a couple of them in Texas.
ClexiCon.
Yeah. I've been to DragonCon. I've been to a lot of Comic-Cons. I love Comic-Cons. It's my... I'm not sure that I can answer the question. I would prefer a relaxing vacation over a Comic-Con vacation. I want to go to Comic-Cons. I want to go to Comic-Cons all over the world. I just haven't done an international one yet. London, I would like to try to squeeze in London, but that's like in 2
We're going to
weeks.
do Mexico first.
We'll do Mexico.
We're going to do Mexico City.
I want to do Japan. I really want to do London. I really want to do, I want to go all over the world. New York. My favorite one so far. I thought Dragon Con was kind of my favorite, but I felt claustrophobic at Dragon Con sometimes. New York Comic Con, as big as it was and as many people as there was, I fucking had a blast. I was by myself too. I just had such a good time. I fucking loved it.
It looked like fun. I hear what you're saying. Like, I don't know if I'll ever do Disneyland again. But anyway, it's like, it's a lot of stuff, but maybe I think the way I could probably handle a con is making sure that I have downtime.
You need to have downtime. So I did look. I didn't go to it, but I did look. They have a quiet room at New York Comic Con for when you are overstimulated.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that is fair. That's a little bit more inclusive. Thank you.
Yeah. All so right. It's really great. I happened upon it. I was kind of surprised by it, but I was like, oh shit. New York Comic Con has a quiet room, which leads me to think that it's possible. This was the Daily Bugle. They built these installations in this exhibit hall were huge. That was like a 2-story building, Daily Bugle.
This is fun.
It was so much fun.
Overall, were people nice?
I mean, there were people all over the place. Most people would apologize if you bumped into them or they'd, whatever. That's a Catwoman right there.
That's amazing.
You see, this was a fine-ass Dr. Strange who goes by...
Fine-ass Dr. Strange.
Yeah, I mean, because I personally, as a character, Dr. Strange is not one of my favorite characters, but I saw him. He goes by Wavy Boy Robert Wilson. He's beautiful. So I saw him and I was like, can I take a picture with you? I thought he was pretty. So there's that. There's the but that's my second day. So leading into the second day, Thursday, I ended up meeting up with a friend of mine that I just know in New York, and we hadn't seen each other. We knew each other in LA. Well, here's the only picture I could find. So randomly, this guy who looks just the fuck like Abraham Lincoln showed up at this con, at this thing. Like they were switching out, and he showed up, and he looks just the fuck like.
So that's not Abraham Lincoln?
He looks just the fuck like him. It's pretty wild, but
it's so interesting to see people's choices.
Yeah, the things that people decide to do as a cosplay, I some of them I wouldn't think of, and I just would see it and I would get so excited. So second day, so this made me really excited because I love classic 1960s Joker. I love Cesar Romero. I love that he, as an actor, did not refuse to shave his mustache and just said, you're just going to paint on top of the mustache. So when I saw this cosplayer, I fucking squealed because he has the mustache with white paint on it. He looks so much like Cesar Romero.
No, it looks like, and does he do this?
I think
does he do this as a cosplay? Like, does he do it on, like, does he have a...
I don't know, because I just saw him and I was like, I need to take a picture with you. So he took this picture with me and then he walked away.
As someone who's never been to a con, you politely come up to somebody and say, I love your cosplay. May I take a picture?
You're like, can I take a picture with you? And some people are like, yeah, I'll take a picture.
And then some people are like, no. Yeah. And we respect that.
This is my friend Mike, a friend I've had on the internet for many years who I never met in person. I call him half a Big Mike because he's half Arabic, just like my husband. We are podcast play cousins. He co-hosts a show called Why So Serious with my other friends Brandon and Devin. And I had an extra Comic-Con badge because the friend that was going to come with me did not end up coming with me. So I sold that badge to him for his friend. So all of his friends could come. So we met for the first time in person on this day, and I handed him his badge. So
that's phenomenal. Yeah, he's a very attractive man.
He's a cute little guy.
Look at all these people that go around you. Everyone around you is very attractive, and then they're the old woman white troll. Okay.
Here, this is me laying in my bed in the hotel room.
That's really pretty.
Yeah.
You are very pretty, but the light is very pretty.
It's nice. It was like a good little morning, and I was like, I'm gonna take a picture with this window. You know what was really great is how good these windows are, because when I had the window open, you could hear all the construction in the city, all the city sounds.
Oh, nice. So
I closed that window, you couldn't hear the city sounds. It was really good.
Now how, and you were there 4 days, 5 days?
5 days altogether.
5 days. I'll tell you. 5 days of con.
4 days of con. 5 days because I went a day early, and then I got there Wednesday. Wednesday was not a con day, but I just wanted to be there to see people that I knew. I had some guests of Militantly Mixed that live in New York that I just arranged to see at either like coffee shops or dinner or whatever. So Wednesday was a non-con day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday were all con days, and then I left Monday mid-afternoon.
Okay.
This was day 2 of New York Comic Con. I was dressed as Shinobu Kocho from the Demon Slayer anime. All of these people here are also dressed up in Demon Slayer anime character. And we would find each other, and then we would holler at each other and all take pictures. And as we were taking pictures, more people from Demon Slayer would walk up and we'd add them to the photo.
I've started watching that. So
it's one of my favorite things. So this, he's doing the water. Yeah. It's a water form.
Thank you.
So in the anime, his sword turns into water as he's slicing through things, and so he just has a fake sword that actually had the water flip. Oh, this was also the first day. This is Kaden Phoenix. She was on my panel at Colexicon for queer representation in comics. She has several comic books, but she has the pictures that are behind her from her new book, which is the very first all Latina superhero story. So I'm gonna take that out for a second and put this up. So this is her book, A la Brava.
Oh, okay.
And it's superheroes. It's all Latina superheroes. So she was on my panel when I moderated the panel at Colexicon back in August, and she was at the con. So I ran up and I ended up hanging out at her booth for a part of Thursday. Like I just sat there at her booth with her and chatted with her. So she's going to be on Blerd Comics coming up soon too. But I got a chance to see her, which, I had only seen her a month prior, but that's cool. So yeah, the more you'll see, like, as I'm sitting here, more people will start to pop up. You'll see these people in pictures with me a lot because we're standing somewhere and then, we're taking pictures and then more people would show up. And so we would just add to the group. We would tell people to take more pictures with us and stuff like that. So that's why I have so many pictures with them, because they were all dressed in the same thing. Now, this was I made little, she does things with butterflies. I dressed as this character because she's the character I relate to the most. Plus, she has purple hair. She kills by poison on her blade. So I added these little butterflies for the picture because she does things with butterflies. But that's the cosplay that I did on the first day. I thought this was going to be of course, the people in Demon Slayer and stuff would want to take pictures and stuff like that. But I didn't think it was going to be that big of a hit. Here's another one. This is when we add more people.
That's awesome.
All these are all characters.
I love the guy with the sword in the back. It's just so perfect.
He's just swimming. we're just having fun. We're just we just clanned up, the
Dragon Slayer is very, very popular.
Yeah, it's my favorite current. It's one of my favorent current.
Is it something that's been made recently into a show, but it does exist someplace else?
Yeah, it was a manga beforehand, and then it became a show. So we're just waiting on season. I think it really counts as season 3, season 4. This is yeah. So I actually, this is how weird and small a world the nerd world is. I saw this on the 3rd day of the con. This is a guy who built a bike. He's got the little Grogu. I'm gonna play it.
You're allowed to bring that in
because you're a cosplayer. As long as you apply as like a professional or whatever, they would let you have big contraptions in because you have to have them like approved and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So I was at PodFest on Sunday, which was a podcast fest, a little mini conference for podcasters. And one of the guys there, I had told him I had just come from Comic-Con because I went to Comic-Con in the morning. I went to podcast in the afternoon on Sunday. And he goes, a friend of mine is dressed as a Mandalorian there. He's got a whole bike and everything. And so I pulled my phone up and I was like, this guy? And he's like, yeah, that's my friend. So Yeah, like people go all out. Like there's some people whose cosplay is really, really impressive. I wanted to show this is another angle of this is how you can see the whole hallway that leads you. I'm going up an escalator right now.
So you are okay. So it's several floors.
Yeah,
Obviously, that's a photo shoot.
I'm going up an escalator towards the panel hall. But if
Okay.
what I'm looking at right here on this freeze frame is like the lobby area that leads you. So if you go down those stairs that are underneath that Welcome Home Heroes sign, then you would go into Artist Alley. And if you go all the way to the far end of that building and up, that's how you get into the exhibit hall on that second floor.
And exhibits are where we they do like the panels.
That's where like the exhibit hall is where there's like the vendor booths, the comic book shops, the makeup artists, all the
purchasing
exhibitors.
stuff.
Yeah, that's where you do all that. Where I'm heading up, so you can see like as we're going, I'm going up. I'm going into the panel hall, and then that right there was the selfie booth. Or what they call it, the solo booth, so you could take your cosplay photos down here.
That's cool for a price, I'm sure.
Yeah, professionals would take pictures of you when you're with your cosplay or wearing your cosplay. But yeah, so I went to a couple of panels and things like that. And
do you have a favorite panel?
I think it's the one I did on the very last day, which is the Women of Marvel panel. Women of Marvel is a podcast I've been listening to for many, many years. And it actually, the podcast itself was born out of this panel here at New York Comic Con years ago. So this is more of the Marvel panel. This is, I did 2 Marvel panels, but this is Women in Marvel. So this is how far away I was sitting, and to watch it. It filled in, like a lot of these are reserved up front.
This is the podcast.
It's a podcast for Marvel. These are the women who work at Marvel.
Oh, okay.
There's many women that work at Marvel. And then some of these people are actual writers and stuff who have books and things like that. Okay. So here's another view of it. That's the Women of Marvel signage or whatever after people started showing up. So a lot of these up front were, okay, so Marvel did this. These seats in the first 5 rows are all ADA. Reserved. Lovely. So if you were with a person who needed assistance, you could sit there. But other than that, they designated that area. So like if people had wheelchairs, they would move the chairs out of the way so that they could push it in or whatever. But this was how the big room for Marvel panels that were like this, the first 5 rows. That's why I sat so far back, because otherwise I would have been right there in front screaming at Angelique Roche, who is the host of the thing. I'm obsessed with Angelique Roche. She works at Marvel. She is responsible for the Marvel Voices, both podcast and anthology comic. She also knows someone else who I know in terms of comic book creation, Vita Ayala. So when I went up to her, I was like, I discovered you through Vita. I actually know Vita. And they were like excited. They're like, oh, Vita's the best person. I was like, I know, I love Vita. So I got a chance to just meet and talk with her because I love her. I'm obsessed with her, but I also kind of wanted to like fake my way into a friendship by being like, I know Vita. Yeah. So that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing there. And then Saturday. Oh, I also went to the Ultraman panel, and it was all a whole bunch of like they were talking about the other animes that are coming out, all related to the same group, and so I saw a lot of stuff that's coming out in terms of anime stuff. This was just an installation. This also was about two stories tall behind me of Gojira.
I love that. You remember when we were younger and you couldn't have your nerd flag, nerd flag fly.
You like, just get to be a nerd here.
You just had to be in the closet about it. And now it's like this. It's just so internets were old.
Yeah. It's pretty fun.
If you're in your 20s or even your 30s, you don't know what
you don't know how weird this is to be able to be this
very
nerdy.
Weird.
So on a sad note, there was a sad thing that happened, and I hate to say this, but I was dressed as Joker Loki, aka Jokey, on Saturday. This was the cosplay that I was dressed as, but I attended the memorial for Kim Jong-gi, who's this amazing artist who was on his way to New York Comic Con, and he died on the way to New York Comic Con. they had a memorial impromptu. Jim Lee, very famous comic book creator, was there speaking. The whole panel were people who loved Kim Jong-gi.
Was it an accident? Did he?
I think it was something heart related or something like that. But that's him in the center with the glasses, the bald head. That's Kim Jong-gi who passed. This was his business partner who was also worked as his translator. This is his team. But there was a bunch of people that were there to mourn. Actually, he was on my list of people I wanted to go to their booth to get a chance to meet.
Young.
He's 47 years old. We're 3 years apart in age. So he was flying from New York, or from London to New York for New York Comic Con. And once he got here, he immediately was rushed to the hospital and he died at the hospital. So New York Comic Con kept his booth active so that people had a place to mourn. So people were putting flowers on his booth and everything in Artist Alley. And then on Saturday, they were able to create a space so that we could we could have a memorial. So I attended the memorial. I just felt really awkward because I was dressed as Joker Loki.
Well, I mean, we're at a con.
I know there was other people dressed in cosplay. And
honestly, I mean, I don't know him, but I'm pretty sure he'd dig it.
He'd probably laugh a little bit, but yeah. So it was just a place to mourn for him, and his art is amazing. I'm gonna put a link in the show notes for this as well, so that people can see what his art is. He had an eidetic memory, and he could pretty much draw anything as he saw it in real life. Like he had really good hand to brain coordination. And I was excited that this was my first New York. To me, I associate him with New York Comic Con. So this being my first New York Comic Con, I was very excited. I was going to go see Kim Jong-gi. And then I left Houston at 5:40 in the morning. I landed in New York at 10:55. One of the first things I saw in my feed was, "We are sorry to let y'all know that Kim Jong-gi died on the way to New York." So literally, I saw his last post talking about he was excited about leaving London to come to New York Comic Con, and then the next post was his people telling us that he had died.
I am, for his friends, for his family, for his fans, my sincerest condolences.
Yeah.
Because
it was sad, and I did attend the memorial because he's someone that I do associate so heavily with Comic-Con, and I was glad that Comic-Con made that space for it. But here's what's wild. I'll tell this story to tell the story. I'll tell this story to tell that story. Okay. I attended one of the Marvel panels on Thursday, which was with CB, the head editor of Marvel Comics right now. Okay. A couple other people were on that panel whose names are escaping me. But they were talking about different aspects of working for, Umberto is one of them that was there. Different parts of what's coming with Marvel and stuff like that, right? And before that panel started, the screens would just play a whole bunch of stuff. So they just keep you entertained while you're waiting for your panel to start. And it would be other things. So it'd be the panel for Star Trek, or the thing for Mayfair Witches, or something like that, or just video of people at Comic-Con. But then a DC trailer popped up. And so the person ran to the board and fast forwarded through the DC, because we're at a Marvel panel. So they fast forwarded through the DC trailer stuff, which they didn't turn the screen off. They just fast forwarded through it. So a bunch of us in the audience started laughing because we're just oh, you can't do it. You can't show DC at a Marvel panel.
Oh, you mean
yes, because you're at a Marvel panel. They're showing it. So whoever was on the board was oh shit, and they were trying to fast forward through.
I'm pretty sure then that must have been because Disney probably has a rule.
There probably is a rule about it.
Yeah, there's a rule.
Which is funny that they didn't turn off the screen for it, but whatever. So I tell that story to tell this story.
Okay.
At Kim Jong-gi's memorial, sitting next to CB, who was there because he's one of the heads of Marvel, was the head of DC, editor-in-chief Jim Lee right now. Half the panel were uppity up, most of them were creators and artists, but the fact that you had the head editor of DC sitting next to the head editor of Marvel and everybody's grieving. This is how big a deal
how big
Kim Jong-gi was. Yeah.
And then the impact that he made, obviously, to an entire community and art form.
Yeah, so. What was a common theme amongst everybody who spoke on about him was I'm actually kind of jealous that there's so many people on this panel because I thought I was his friend. I thought I was his only friend. Like he had an energy for people that was so specific that everybody thought that they were his only friend. Yeah. And so they were like low key mad that there was so many people, and like people just kept joining, like people kept adding themselves. So they had a panel of like 7 or 8 people, but by the time the memorial was over, there was like 14 people standing up there or sitting up there, because they were real creators and people that were associated with him that wanted to jump in and share about him and stuff like that. So, but everybody started out with like, he makes you feel like you're the only person in the room, even though some, like in the beginning, he was meeting people through translator. Like he was, he always had a translator with him, but he started to learn English more and more over time. And every time you would meet him, he would have more English and stuff like that. But yeah, everybody kind of had a common story about like, I'm low key pissed off at him right now because I didn't realize you guys were close, because he and I were close.
The world needs more people who have the ability to connect, and it sounds like he was top tier.
Yeah,
being able to connect.
Yeah, I mean, I got a little choked up even just now while we were talking about him. And
you're making me get choked up, and I don't even know who he is.
Meet him, yeah, but I'm
sitting here going, I don't want to.
He was really great people, and his art is really crazy and beautiful and wild. But yeah, so Saturday was that. I also did the cosplay of the Joker Loki. So this is actually another friend of mine, but one I had met in Meet Space before. This is Rohan Jolie, who is the founder and creator of the daBlasian March. They go by Diary of a Firebird on social media. Them, Ta, and Sha are the pronouns because they are of Jamaican, Chinese, and Filipino heritage, and so a lot of the pronouns that they use are Filipino based because they have more room for more different genders in Filipino language
than we do.
So this is my friend, my real life friend Rohan, and they were able to come to the con on Saturday, and
this person you said is the founder of
the daBlasian March, which is a Black, Asian, and Blasian solidarity march.
Right.
Also, we did a trans power rally when we were in Los Angeles. Yay. So we had a co march of daBlasian March and the trans power rally, and it's actually just this weekend was the 2nd year anniversary of the first daBlasian March in New York.
That is phenomenal, but also I'm sitting here being low key jealous now because I'm like, this person is clearly 14. What are you talking about?
I mean, they just turned 30, so but yeah, they do a lot of good work, and they're one of my favorite people ever. But yeah, I did
love the suit. Joker. Love that. Well, wow, great. How phenomenal.
There's another one.
What a stellar smile. The two of you, stellar smile.
So they're my sweet friend that I got to see in real life. This panel was also a good panel. This was the the YA graphic novel panel. Young adult.
Sorry, I'm sitting here going,
yeah. So this was the young adult panel. This guy here has written Black Panther Legends and a couple others. These two did a Beast and Raven. I forget the name of her book. I forget the name of their book, but I have the thing somewhere. Have the what's it called somewhere, but anyways, so yeah, I did an anime panel. I did that, like whatever.
Mostly, how many panels did you do total?
I only did like 4, I think, but
they last about an hour.
Yeah, they're all about 45, or they're all about an hour and 15, or hour and 20, or something like that.
And that I'm assuming includes questions.
Yeah, Q&A and stuff like that. So this is actually a video, or this was that's my little. That's my little friend.
Good Lord.
Yeah, stacked. That's my little friend.
I'm just doing this.
There is a video. I don't have it here. I guess I need to send it to them, but it's of them asking a question for the panel. But that was a good one too. This one was funny. Not sure if I have the address right, but is Freddie home? This was cute. He was walking around like this multiple days in a row. But yeah, look at this. Look at that fucking Abraham Lincoln. This guy actually does historical historical lessons while dressed as.
I mean, look at the suit. That is tailored.
His whole deal was that they're trying to correct what people think is the actual history versus the the history myth that they teach us
in
like
school.
That.
Yeah.
This is me and my prep for
for
Joker.
Cute.
But yeah.
Okay, what you got?
That's that. And then on Saturday, I went to Chicago. The 25th anniversary of Chicago on Broadway, starring Angelica Ross, the first Black trans woman to play a lead character on Broadway. I had really good seats too. I know I've passed them recently. So
did you have fun? Are you into musicals?
I'm a big old musical.
I
actually was up in the mezzanine, but I had the perfect fucking seat.
Honestly, I like the mezzanine. I don't always need to be up close.
I was dead center. For a musical, I'd rather be up so I can see the whole thing. But you can't have your camera out during the thing, of course. But for a musical, you could see the whole set where I was sitting. I had really great seats. I did sneak a video at the very end.
Naughty.
Naughty. I did. I still.
Standing ovation.
So that was it. That was all I managed. But
it's gonna be Roxy.
Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun to get a chance to see that. I've never seen a show on Broadway, so I was excited to get that opportunity. And that was my Saturday. And then Sunday, I did the Woman in Marvel panel, followed by immediately getting on the subway so that I could go to PodFest, which was a mini conference. So this is PodFest. I was in attendance at podcaster meetup in New York podcasters and the second annual New York Podcasters Association mini conference. It was in Times Square, so we got to take a Times Square picture. But it was just a very small room at right there off of Times Square, and there was multiple presentations about growth, the topic of growth.
Yay, something we need to know to do.
Yeah, and so I walked away very inspired by some of the stuff that I learned. Not all of it I want to talk about because it's more like I want to
we'll talk about it privately.
I want to put some of these things in action. But it was a really good time, and I got a chance to meet someone who I've known for many years from the Asian American Podcasters Association, Lee Uhura. Here's the back of the head of the.
I wonder. Yes, he has to have.
That thing must have been so heavy.
It must also been very hot.
Yes. That thing right there is an air conditioner. It's a fan. I could hear it when I was behind him.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, I bet that those are just very painful
miserable
to walk around with. The last thing I did was the PodFest. I guess.
How did you meet her?
I forgot. Everybody.
This is where
I got to see Dominique Jackson at the Queer Lounge. There was a Pride Lounge at New York Comic Con, and she was just there taking pictures with folks. So I got a chance to look at how tiny I am compared to how short I am. I know she's wearing heels and stuff like that, but I am mad short.
No, I mean look at her leg ratio.
I know her legs go up to my tits.
Seriously.
But you see how excited I am? Look at how excited
I was excited, and you were so calm. I'm like, is that blah, 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 blah? And then you didn't respond to me. I'm like,
I was like, yeah, no big deal. I just saw Dominique Jackson and Angelica Ross in the same day. No big deal.
I hate you all.
Yeah.
One day.
She loved my look. Let me just say that. She loved my Joker look. So there was that. But yeah, this was just a decoration. That's cool. Wolverine, Deadpool sucks. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I don't know what else to say. I got a lot of information from the PodFest. It was 3 hours of these 10 to 15 minute presentations of different podcasters that talked about different aspects of things like pod fade. How do you keep yourself out of pod fade? Meaning I have a podcast, I'm getting tired, now I'm kind of fading out.
Okay, well then let me ask you some questions.
Okay.
So in previously when talking about other cons with you, one of the gripes was that when they had panels that were about marginalized groups or spaces, they they scheduled them at the same time, so people had to pick and choose.
Right.
How did you feel like the scheduling flowed?
I think for the most part it was fairly decent, except that I kept missing all the panels I wanted to go to because I had my days wrong. Most of the panels that had Black and brown people were at night.
Okay.
I wanted to go to race, gender, and identity panel that was by the WNYC organization, but it was at night on Sunday, which I was at PodFest. I was going to leave PodFest to go to, but once the networking started, I was kind of enjoying where I was at, so I stayed there and I missed that one. That's not Comic-Con's fault. That's the fact that I had too many things to do in one day.
Okay.
What I missed was I thought on the day that I discovered the panel, which is a Marvel Voices panel, which would have had Angelique Roche, the Blerd girl, and a couple other people that I really fucking admire. I found out about it on the 6th. I thought it was on the 7th.
Oh
no, I found out about it on the 5th. I thought it was on the 6th, but it was on the 5th. Wait, no. Yes. I thought it was on the 7th. It was on the 6th.
Is it just that you were like Saturday is the 5th and you're like, no,
yeah, I didn't know what day of the fucking week it was. So
it's not necessarily their scheduling thing.
It's not their scheduling part. It's just I was already traveling back at the hotel. Being tired. I was at the hotel looking at what I thought was tomorrow's schedule so I can map out my day. I saw that pop up on the Blerd Girls page and I was like, dope. Took a screenshot of it. I said, I'm going to go to the con later in the day, Friday, so that I can stay there later so I don't miss this panel, because I know if I come back to the hotel, I won't go back. I know that was going to happen. And then later that night, I realized that today was the 6th and I was like, fuck. So I missed the panel I really, really wanted to see because I thought it was a different date physically than the date that I was existing in.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean,
so I would say that's my problem, not New York Comic Con's problem. But a lot of the Black and brown panels were at night, and I'm really tired by that point. So I didn't stay late.
I don't know how schedules work, but do you think is that more on what people had available or how it was just done by New York?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
Well, I'd be, if anybody watching this has some input on that, would love to hear the insight of why that happens. I don't know. Maybe people schedule, maybe, I don't know.
Because what's different about New York Comic Con than I've experienced at other cons, and maybe that's because of my own awareness of it, is that Comic Con started at 10 in the morning and there were panels that ended at 9 at night. It's a whole day event.
That's a whole fucking day.
And I don't recall that being a thing for other cons, but also I'm usually tired and going home by 5 or 6 most cons that I go to. Right. And I was fucking tuckered, and like 5 or 6 would roll through and I'd be like, I'm going back home. I'm going to go to and then I would tell myself, I'm definitely going to go out. I'm going to go clean up and I'm go out on the New York streets and I'm going to hit this city. But I'd be so tired and my feet would hurt so much that I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to watch HGTV in my hotel room while sleeping like a starfish, which was very necessary and very enjoyable.
Oh, I'm sure. But okay. Do you think that in the panels, that I hear that it had some pretty good representation for Black, brown, queer, Asian. Mm-hmm. What about indigenous?
There was some artists in Artist Alley. I don't know specifically for the panels because I'd have to look through the schedule. Again, a lot of things to choose from. So when you're scrolling through the schedule,
I know
you're just like,
right.
Yeah.
So, what about disabled? Like, how do you think representation was handled all over New York Comic Con?
So what I didn't experience here that I did at Dragon Con, where was that there was I didn't experience a disabled person on a panel.
Okay.
So I didn't experience what I saw at Dragon Con, which is someone literally throwing himself from his wheelchair onto the stage.
Right.
Just to be able to be on the dais with everybody, which happened at Dragon Con. I didn't experience that at New York Comic Con, so I can't say panelist wise how they were handling wheelchair bound people. Possibly there was someone with a cane or something like that, and that would have been different. There was always stairs leading up to the raised platforms.
Okay.
But very similar to what happened at Podcast Movement that I complained about. There was something like that at New York Comic Con when I was at Bishop Cosplay's panel, which was about being a person of color in photography for cosplay. It was specifically asking people of color to become cosplay photographers because of how you pose Black and brown people versus how white people pose us is a lot different. And so it was about cosplay as a person of color, but it was also specifically about the photographers and photography of POC cosplayers. That was in a area called the Mayron Makeup Hallway or some shit like that. It was open so you could hear the crowd that was walking down that airway, which was very distracting, which is something I had a problem with at Colexicon because I have misophonia. And when I can't control outside sounds, it can be very difficult. That, and there was another stage, maybe about 150 feet away, that was also having a panel at that time. So you could kind of hear both things happening at the same time. And they didn't set up a microphone for the people asking questions at this one. So the people would ask questions and then the panelists might forget to rename the question. And so you were just, there's times where you're just sitting there like, what's happening? So I would say that that's a complaint of almost every single con I've been to this year, is that there's inevitably some stage that's really inconveniently located and you can just hear the 100,000 people that are walking around the space at the same time. There was sometimes when it was a tight squeeze, it never felt nearly as claustrophobic as Dragon Con did, because on Dragon Con, you're literally stuck on Skywalk sometimes just waiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so, and then accessibility wise, it's so many
there was
people.
Elevators everywhere.
Okay. And then it looked like things were spread out.
There was things were spread out. You would find, so it depends. Like I saw one person that was in a more, not so much a wheelchair, more of like those little, what are they called? They're like the 3-wheeler, look like mopeds, but they're for mobility.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I saw one person that had one of those, and he had a little honker, so he would honk every so often, be like coming through, to push through. And then I would see people with wheelchairs, if they had someone with them, like tell people to move out of the way,
because they're lower down.
They're lower down, and you know, I know that they spend a lot of their time just like basically looking at the backs and crotches of someone, you know, and it's got to be really frustrating.
And even if you were to put a flag, like in Disneyland, we sometimes put flags on top of.
Now, a lot of them had flags on their things, but people aren't paying attention.
Well, yeah, because people have so many props. How do I know? Like,
there's that.
Okay,
and like you would see like someone would be wailing and someone would try to cross in front of them and then be like, oh wait, I realize, you know, like there was stuff like that definitely happened, which I assume happens all the time. But for the most part, I feel like as long as you could get to there were signs outside the elevator that said, please prioritize accessibility, you know, mobility attendees or attendees for the elevators before you use the elevator. So there were signs that were indicating, like, you know, I know you don't want to be on that escalator because it's a big crush, but let the people with wheelchairs get on the elevator before you get on the elevator.
And I you know what I think is common courtesy. The one or the other, I think it was Dragon Con, where you were like, I wish they had more sporadic.
Oh, that was Colexicon. Yeah, okay. Like and that it's funny because that was a small con and it wasn't really a big crush, but it was just for me because I had to walk. The hotel was so spread out, right, that I had to walk what I assume was a mile from my room to where the con was, and I like there was times when I just, because I have flat feet, I would just want to sit. So at New York Comic Con or Dragon Con, I would just like find a place to sit every so often, and sometimes that is the floor next to a glass wall or some shit like that.
Something like that. But here, did you find that? I mean, do these if this place was designed to be a convention center, did it have?
There's not chair or floor space to sit on when you're in the exhibit hall, but like when you go by the food, you see a lot of people sitting both in the chairs and on the floor outside of the doors and stuff like that. And I think like mentally you just get into a place where like, I'm at a con, so I need to be on my feet for the next, you know, however long. But there was times when I would be standing in a line and I would be like lifting my foot up against something just to like take the ease off or whatever. But honestly, there's times when I kind of wish I could get one of those little 3-wheelers. Because like I walked like 20,000 steps on Thursday. I did like 8,000 on Friday, which I was surprised it was only 8,000. Then I did like a 15 or 18,000. So like every day I was fucking walking. I was moving. But I never felt like there was only one time where there was a huge crush of bodies, and I was with my friend Rohan, so we were holding hands so we wouldn't get separated. And that was in the big exhibit, a big panel hall, when you were going to the very specific big panels.
Okay.
That particular time, it was so crowded, the crush was so heavy.
Okay.
That it was very stressful. So we were like, we're not going through that crush again. We went through the elevator when we left after that. And that's when we were trying to go to the Star Trek panel, Psyche Mind Booty Shine. That line was too long. So we ended up going to the YA graphic novel panel instead.
Well, okay. So, I mean, overall, it was your first New York Con. Overall, it sounds pretty.
It was amazing. I 100% want to go every year now. I
100% want to go. Like, so top 3 things you think about New York Comic Con. Takeaway.
I don't know. I can't describe it. It was just the feeling of it. Like it felt so massive and so intimate at the same time. And it was just like everybody was a nerd. No one was weird about your nerd. Okay, not true. I did have a great.
There's always one Karen.
There's always one. I had a great value Captain America say Joker Loki mashup, and I said, "Yep, jokey." And he said, "Joker and Loki are not even in the same universe." Really great value, Captain America? You think I don't know? You think it's an accident that I'm here at New York Comic Con dressed up as a mashup of a Joker and Loki, and I don't know that they're from different universes? But anyways, yes. So I would say like one of the things is just kind of the vibe of it. Like it's very balanced between comic book nerdery, gaming nerdery, anime nerdery, social justice panels, and comic book and reading literacy, and you know like it's a really good balance. I feel like it's been about 7 years since I went to San Diego Comic-Con, but I never felt like there was anything that was a combination of the shit that I got going on. You know, race, gender, nerdery, social justice stuff, you know, not like that every single panel was like that, but they had those options available. And I don't recall seeing options quite like that when I was at San Diego Comic-Con last. I still want to go back to San Diego Comic-Con, but I would say that I prefer New York to San Diego. Absolutely. Okay. And in fact,
I know people that would get in a fist fight with you about that.
You know, like I think it's a big statement. Like I hear New Yorkers say things like, you know what we call New York Comic-Con? Comic-Con. You know, like they're trying to tell you like that's just regular ass Comic-Con to us. And I get it. Like I want to be very clear if I'm telling you I'm at New York Comic-Con and I think that this is the Comic-Con. Versus San Diego, which again, I've gone to San Diego. I've loved it. I would have to go back now to see if it compares, because from my memory, I'm going to say I felt way more like all my shit was available to me at New York Comic Con and Dragon Con that wasn't in LA, at WonderCon, and in San Diego, the top 3 big California cons.
Okay. Okay, so that did we hit all 3?
That was kind of one, I guess. The fact that I got to see so many people that I know but didn't know in Meet Space, that made this a favorite, because it was a lot of fun seeing Stephanie and Nabil and Mike and my friend Chuck and Rohan and stuff like that, and Lee. That was a favorite thing. And I got to add to, this is another favorite. I got to add to my toy collection, which, if you don't know this about me, I have a lot of the Bandai Samurai versions of toys, Star Wars and Marvel. I did not know this existed until I was at New York Comic Con.
I love how I'm leaning into the camera like, oh my God. That's so fucking, look at his top knot.
Yeah, he's got a top knot.
That is so cute.
So
how are you taking those to Mexico? How are you going to get all that stuff?
Well, see, that's my problem. Remember I told you, like, in terms of my toys, the toys are the only thing I really care about. My toys and my comics, some of my t-shirts. But other than that, I'm going to do my best to get rid, and my podcast equipment. But other than that, I'm going to do my best to get rid of my shit. But my Bandai toys are my preciouses.
Do they stay in the box?
They do. And that's only because I don't have a glass display case at present. That's something that I want to make sure I get when we settle in Mexico so that I can put my toys on display. That being said, if I do open it, I only touch them with gloves because that's me. But I will at least show it to you in plastic. So you have the different hand attachments here. So you can change his hand positioning and stuff like that. Oh,
so he can hold something.
Yeah, okay. That is the jetpack. This is, well, obviously that's Grogu. And that's him, Mandalorian. But then over here, we got all of our different weapons.
The secondness. The Zaddy.
He's
a Zaddy. What?
So the style of samurai class that they have all of the Mandalorian characters in is the Ronin character, which is the masterless samurai. Darth Vader is in the daimyo, which is the head of the clan.
Yes.
Level of outfit and stuff like that. But I didn't know that they made a Mando one. As soon as I saw they had Grogu, I was like, oh shit.
Well, who makes? And you said Bandai. They must.
Bandai, yeah. So
they must have a kick-ass relationship with Disney.
Yeah. So Bandai and Tamashi Nations, who does a lot of the anime as well. And Disney. It's a coincide thing. For Star Wars, I have two Bobas. One is an all white body, and one is the regular painted. I have Jango, I have Darth Vader, I have Mando, I have Stormtrooper, I have a Stormtrooper, and I have a red war, the protector, the guard. Mm-hmm. I'm missing like C-3PO and some of the other Star Wars characters. So this is kind of a jump the gun because this is a newer one I didn't know existed. But I walked past the booth and I was like, shit, that line is not that long.
And my bank account.
Yeah, this was pretty much this was like, okay, I can get this and only eat hot dogs for the rest of the trip. Because that's what I could afford. Or, whatever. I still managed to have perfectly nice ham and cheese sandwiches from Paris Baguette down the street from my hotel. Thank you, Paris Baguette. And was able to get that. Yeah.
All right. It's always important to say like the positives. Do we have any negatives? Do we have room for improvement?
I'm sure there always is room for improvement. I would say that I think, like in terms of their volunteers, which, bless a Comic-Con volunteer's heart, because you're thrown into expected to be an expert and you are just there for a badge. Most volunteers are just there because they want to get a free badge. Mm-hmm. And I would go up to ask, like, how do I get to such and such? And they would tell me a direction. I'd go to that side and they'd be like, you can't go here. This part's closed off. And I'd be like, oh man, I just basically wasted 200 steps to get in this direction. My feet hurt already. And now I got to pass through again. There were some things like that. So I think, maybe education of their volunteers a little bit better so that people actually knew how to walk to places and things like that, because it's so easy to get lost, you're not lost in that. There's
not an app.
There is an app, but whether or not you really feel confident, you know where you're going.
Oh, okay. So there's an app that has an app map.
There's a map in the app. But you can also like put your schedule into the app and all that other kind of stuff.
Well, I think from now on, it really is true. You do need a keeper because I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, ma'am, you're late for your 4:00.
Yeah. So here's the thing is a lot of the other cosplayers I was taking photos with had an attendant with them. And so that person was asking everybody they took a photo with, like, what's your IG? But in my case, if I was remembering to ask, I was adding them on the spot if I had connection. If I didn't have connection, I was searching for them and screenshotting you know, or they would say it and I wouldn't understand it all the way, and you didn't want to keep asking someone over and over again. So it would be nice to have that attendant that could help, you know, like get those Instagram handles so you can tag people so that you can connect with folks.
Right.
I was forgetting to pass out my Blerd Comics cards that I have that has a QR code so that you can find my show and stuff like that. I was doing it sometimes, but I was forgetting other times. And it's happened at every conference that I've been to or every convention. It's just like, I'm good about sometimes getting the information out or handing someone a sticker or whatever. I forget about it a lot of times. And then I just feel like, oh shit, who was that one guy? And like hope, you know, I find them on the scroll so I can whittle down and tag them in a photo that I've taken with them and stuff like that. Also, someone just to remind me to drink water. You know, like that's a big thing. Like, you know, like hydrate, make sure you here's a snack. So the thing is, like, whenever I've gone to a Comic-Con with Sharmane from Blerd Comics, my friend, he knows my tells. We've been friends since I was 8 years old. So he physically can tell when my body changes and it's time for Sharmane to get a snack. He's also like 6'5" and he will make room. You know, he will just
I'm surprised he just doesn't pluck you up.
He just like does these bubble arms around me. Like he doesn't touch me, but he just puts his arms around me like this, like in a bubble. And he's just like, all right, let's go get a snack. And then he just kind of like steers me through a crowd.
I can't wait to meet him.
And he'll and then he'll be like, all right, it's snack time. So he'll make sure I go get a snack and stuff like that. And that's because he's like physically seeing how my body change. Like I need someone who learns
your tells,
my tells too. But can also just be sort of like, so Game of Thrones has hand of the king or hand of the queen. I need a hand of the Mane.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, overall, it sounds like you're going to be recommending.
Highly recommend. If you are even like, if you've never been to a con before, it might be overwhelming because it's so big. But if you want to have the best possible chance of having a really good con experience, New York Comic Con is one of those ones that's easier to get a ticket for than San Diego. Right. But it's so great. It can be overwhelming. So if you have sensory issues, which I do, there is a quiet room you could go into where you just need to decompress and stuff like that.
I wonder if we should give you some headphones. The ones.
Well, I have these that are noise canceling, but I don't remember to bring them.
Again, you need hi ma'am. I need a checklist of your okay. I can do that. I can cheerlead and support team like you don't even know.
I need someone to hand me
classically trained because I've trained Disneyland.
Who will like hand me like a Lunchable or some shit, you know, like.
I was the person in Disneyland that knew the schedules and knew this. We were going to do the fast pass for this, but I would also go, here's the water break. I have snacks in here.
But I think you also now need a handler because you're still trying to remember that you have to account for the fact that your disability is starting to show itself.
Yes, I know.
So,
well, I mean, if anything, I could get, if we're doing cons in the United States, I got to do research elsewhere. I can rent wherever I go. I can just so you guys know, if you don't know, many metropolitan areas, if you have an accident or whatever, you can call. There are certain places that you can call, of course, for a price, that will deliver a wheelchair of your wanting, electric or otherwise, electric scooter or an actual wheelchair that you could push or wheel, deliver it to your hotel room, and you can rent them for like $50 a day. And then you just leave them in that area at a scheduled time, and they come and they pick up their scooters again. It's saved me a bunch of times.
That reminds me, the hotel room that I was in, immediately in front of the elevator. So when the elevator opened, I could go straight into.
It sounds like to me that they took very good care of you.
Yeah, they did. There was 2 side-by-side elevators. So if as long as you got into the main elevator, you could go straight into your, directly. Other than that, you might have to turn, like you're just like go diagonal then. But yeah, the placement of that room was very good as well. Okay. So yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a great trip. New York is one of my favorite cities anyway. I mean, I kept saying the whole time I was there, like if I was single and not broke, I would be living there. So I have been spending the last couple of days fantasy apartment shopping in New York, which is something I do every now and then to see if I could live, what neighborhoods I could live in and stuff like that. But no, I think I would love to go to New York Comic Con every year. I think now that I've seen it, it'll be easier to plan my fun adventure next time, which is the same problem I had at Dragon Con. I had never been there, so it was hard to plan. So I was selecting things that were too far away from each other right after each other to go to. Whereas now I have an idea of where things are. So when I plan my days out in advance, I can say, okay, I have time to make it from here to there, or I got to skip this so I can line up for that. You know, things like that I wasn't really sure about leading up to it. But getting a chance to go to the 2 Broadway shows, basically I had the New York experience I've always wanted to have without pressure, because in the past it's either been I'm with my ex or someone else is around that I have to cater to. And in this case, I only had to cater to me, and it was a great trip.
I'm glad you went.
Thank you. Thank you for making it possible. It was great.
Wow. I'm doing this honestly. I live vicariously through you.
Well, I can't wait till we can actually go somewhere together, because
we're gonna do it. We're gonna.
I want you to be able to have your nerd moment, your Star Trek nerd moment, or whatever, all the things and stuff like that too.
I just love is as negative as how sometimes the world is right now, because everything is on fucking fire, and I know it's been on fire for a while, but stay with me, internet. Is that you saw the first Black trans woman on Broadway. You saw one of the first leading ladies in a trans-led story. Like, the reason why everything's ugly right now, internet, is because more and more and more of us are saying we're not going back into the closet for your comfort.
Yeah. So it was just like, it's well, so especially too, because Chicago's such a sexy show, and to see like when one of the men in the chorus would like pick her up and turn her or something like that, and it's just like you weren't hearing these like gasp, oh my god, it's a trans one, like it was just like we're just all here. Also, and this might be a spoiler if people because honestly, I don't know. This is the first time I've seen Chicago on stage. I've only seen Chicago in the movies, and then of course any soundtrack that I've listened to over the years. The character that plays Miss Sunshine, the journalist lady, is played by a man. I didn't know that because they didn't do that in the movie. But he had an operatic femme voice. Mm-hmm. So when the reveal happens, and everybody's like, that was a bigger gasp at any moment than the fact that there was a trans woman.
The fact that when you think genders wise, right?
Yeah.
Only women.
Because he had an operatic.
Hit that note.
He hit this like operatic, like he did this like run of just like this kind of thing, which I can't do, obviously. And then so later on, I was like, did they switch out the actress? Like, I was working it through my head the whole time, and I'm like, I saw him take the wig off. I saw him open the shirt and take the boobs out. Like, I saw all this happen, and yet I could not believe that voice came from that person. Like, it was amazing. Yeah. But yeah, like that was a bigger turn for the audience. And obviously, I think most of us know, like if you're buying that ticket, you know who's in the show and stuff like that. But it was nice to go. Okay, here's the thing. It was nice to go and them not say Angelica Ross, the first Black trans woman. Like it was just Angelica Ross.
And I mean, don't get us wrong. It is really awesome. I mean, how phenomenal, the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, it does. There is something that is very excited to it, but what would be just awesome is that's a trans person. Oh, okay.
And they're just toast. In the role.
I just want to get to that. Oh, that's a queer person. Oh, that's great. I'm going to have pancakes for dinner. Yeah. Thank you. Like that,
Yeah, it was great. I really feel, I feel good about where I was. The funny thing too is a friend of mine had posted on Facebook when I was sitting in my seat at Chicago waiting for the show to start. They posted that they were at Book of Mormon, which was right across the street.
That's a good one too if you've never seen it.
I mean, I listened to the soundtrack, but I've never seen it.
Right?
And so when I saw their post on Facebook, I was like, "Are we across the street from each other right now?" And then I sent him a picture of my playbill and my lap, and he started laughing. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're across the street from each other." So we didn't see each other after. Like I did kind of look for him, but I didn't see him. But it was funny to think like how weirdly large and small New York is, because I didn't even know I was just across the street from where my friend was at the time. But it was fun.
New York is its different planet.
It was. I would get off the subway every day when I'd come back to the hotel. I'd get off the subway and walk past this place called Paris Baguette, which I would get every night. Of the last 3 nights I was there, I would get a ham and cheese sandwich on a baguette. I would get a chocolate croissant and a regular croissant, and we
love the carbs.
Yeah, I mean that. Like I'm not gonna pass up a croissant. I'll just say that. But also the sandwiches were good for you. You know, I would scarf the sandwiches before I'd go out and stuff like that to go to the shows and stuff. But I was like, it was so good. But then I would have the chocolate croissant at night, and I would save the regular croissant for the morning. But then my last night there, I decided to splurge, and I got myself a nice little fruit tart.
Ooh.
So fucking good. But like Paris Baguette kept me fed the whole time, and I would walk in and it was like one day I'm regular, and then I'm in cosplay, and then I'm in Joker cosplay, and so I'm just like, you forget that you're wearing cosplay after a while, and you're walking down a regular ass New York street. I'm not near the con anymore. I'm in Midtown, and I'm in full Joker regalia, and I walk out like, can I get a ham and cheese?
Come on, it's New York. That don't bother nobody.
But like you just forget that you look like that, and so at one point she pauses and she's like, what are you? I'm like, I'm Joker and Loki mashed together. And she's like, oh, okay. Cause that makes sense now. Like that kind of stuff.
Oh, I'm just going to church. That's still my
no biggie. My favorite was when I was Shinobu, because I have a katana on my belt, and I'm just like walking down the streets of New York with a fucking sword in my hand and shit like that. Very fun. Very fun. I enjoy walking down the street where no one else is cosplaying, because I didn't feel normal until I went downstairs into the subway and other people were in cosplay going to the same place I'm going. But up until then, I'm the only person on the regular New York street walking around in cosplay. It was fun. That's all I'm saying. It was fun.
All right. Well, what do you think?
Till next time.
Till next time.
We went way long again. I told you.
I'm trying. Do you understand?
I don't think it's your fault. I think that I just need to accept the fact that this is a 2-hour show, no matter how bad I think.
Or you could just edit it down to.
But then but what do I cut? Like, besides the little interruptions that we had and stuff like that, it's not going to take that much time out. So I just accept the fact that this is a near 2-hour show every time, and hopefully people stay till the end. Also, just quick apology. I did release the last episode a week late because, again, my travel schedule, I just didn't upload it. Like I had it done, but I didn't upload it. But that really has more to do with like poor planning on my part. Well, not poor plan. I got overwhelmed. I just got overwhelmed. It's like I'm at that place where I need an assistant across the board, like a hand of the mane across the board. And so I didn't get the stuff done before I packed and got. Like I was literally packing 3 hours before I got on the plane.
Right. Well, we did it. You did it though.
We did it. I had such a blast. I'm kind of as recovered as I'm going to be after a few days, but I had a blast. I would do it again in a heartbeat. If someone was like, New York Comic Con decided to 2 weeks later just have another little couple of days, I'd be like, I'll be there.
Yeah. No, I think that now that I hear you, I think if I was there for the con for 5 days, I think I would want to try to arrive maybe one day early, and then maybe stay a couple of days after just to. You're right.
I did kind of wish I had a whole I planned the day the way of the trip the way that I did. In hindsight, I think it would have been nice to have all of Monday, because then I would have been able to see. There was still one other person I wanted to see that I didn't manage to see, but I could have just rested in the city. Like I could have, I didn't do some of the other stuff. Like I didn't go to other parts of New York that I used to go to. So this is very semi-touristy, because I did the con and then and stuff like that, and I was in Times Square or whatever. But to just walk around, like to go to a museum or just to walk around New York or something like that, I didn't get a chance to really do that. But yeah, I think that was the perfect trip. It was, for the most part, it was a perfect trip. I really enjoyed.
All right.
that time.
Well, before we end, if you don't have anything else to say,
I'm good.
I do realize that I think this episode is going to probably air in the next couple of weeks, and today is the 15th of October. And I don't want to, I understand that we have like a small following and we're gearing up, but for any of you out there that are listening, please take the time to look into what is happening in Iran. Sharmane and I would like to say that we stand with the people of Iran, and what is happening there is not okay. And it takes the world and all of us watching to call for change and to say that we're watching you, and we see you and we hear you. And this is all stemming from a woman, Mahsa Amini, or her real name is Zina Amini, being brutalized and beaten to death for simply not abiding a dress code. And for any of you out there that was like, well, that's happening over there, that doesn't happen over here. It happens every day.
And it doesn't matter that it happens somewhere else. We're on the same planet.
And yes, and it shouldn't have to matter at all. Like, we should care about one another. And if more of us knew, I feel like if more of us knew actually what was happening, because it's not getting the traction in the news that it should. And if we would be more aware, more of us would care and be calling out to our leaders going, what are we doing about this? At the bare minimum is calling it out and saying that the people of Iran, we stand with you. Okay. So I'm waxed.
I'm not waxed. I'm behind on wax. I ain't been home for wax. I'm vaxxed.
And we're fully packed. Let's get out of here.
Hopefully we'll be packed soon. All right. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Queer and Far is a ManeHustle Media Podcast, produced and edited by Sharmane Fury. Co-hosted by Sharmane Fury, aka daBlasianBlerd, and Shae Nahnigans. Music is Big Band Savage Jazz by Pine Groove. If you like what you've heard on Queer and Far, please subscribe, rate, and review on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.